bitch ass.
What?
You ain't nothing but a little bitch ass.
No.
You little bitch ass. We talk real low. Then when the people turn the volume,
We get loud and blow their brains out. Oh, probably gonna hate that. I read an article today because I'm starting to think literary submissions, like literary journals submitting to them, is a scam now.
That makes sense.
It's like, why do you gotta pay a fee? And like, what are they doing with this money? So I looked it up and I found an article that's very interesting. I'm not going to go into the article, but I will discuss one main point about the article that blew my mind. Not the fact that this is true, the fact that I'll say announce after. So most, if not all, literary journals make no money. I mean, yeah, they might have...
Because nobody wants to read that shit.
Yeah. So if they go through like the submittable and stuff, it showed the prices for it. It's really expensive to get like certain amount, like, you know, they got tiers, like you could have the basic submittable, the premium, whatever, and it like automates your submissions, and like when people send you shit, it has a cap and all this stuff. Like, okay, so if they're having a submission fee for like $3, that's like a common submission fee. That just offsets their cost for that, pays for that. For the most part, they're not making money from their journal. They're not really selling it. And the people who are running these journals, like the reason they're even there still and not out of business is because the staff is just passionate about it. Usually it's a very limited staff, just an editor, maybe a couple people. They just have a passion for it, and they just want the journal to, you know, just like a creative art thing. And usually a lot of interns that are unpaid that read the submissions and go through, do the grunt work, you know, and they get credits for college or whatever. So Bryce, who was on the podcast, that's what he did after college. He went and worked at one of these journals. I forget the name, Autumn Hill maybe, or Autumn House, something like that. But he said he worked at one of those, and they just had him doing grunt work, reading submissions and shit. But it looks good on your resume or whatever. You know, he worked at a press. Here's the fact I'm going to announce, Spencer. I don't know if this, you know what? Change it. It's not a fact. It's a question. I'll put this as a question to you. If these journals are making no money, and I'm talking about like not even the shit journals or the low ones that barely anyone reads. I'm talking about like top journals. Even like maybe the New Yorker and Paris Review probably aren't making that much money anymore, especially if they're paying for work. Like a lot of the journals don't pay for work, but the ones that do, then they're really probably in the hole. So here's my question. If these journals aren't making money, then one, why are they still so hip on the whole diversity stuff? Because if you look like big corporate America that's, you know, pushing all the diversity stuff, it's because it makes money, they think. I don't know if that's true or not, if it actually does, but you know, they're catering to what is popular now, and what's more popular than like LGBTQ stuff and diversity stuff and all that. That's fine if they want to do that just because they, you know, that's how they feel, but are they doing it because that's how they actually feel, or are they doing that because they think it's going to get them more readers? Or
yeah, I would probably say the majority of that stuff for anything, they're doing it because either, like you said, they think it's gonna make them money.
But here's the thing,
or it's gonna make them look good.
That's the thing, that makes them look good. But here's the thing. So if nobody's reading these for the most part, and they're not selling anything, they're not making any money off of these, which I would love to see the number of actual sales for their journals, the ones that actually do sell. I bet they're very, very low. So if they're not making money off of this, and put the diversity stuff aside now, why are they still publishing so many just non-stories? So much unoriginal drivel that all pretty much reads the same. Like, why don't they? Here's the thing: if I'm running a journal that, while not making any money, it's successful enough, it's getting, let's say, 10,000 submissions a year. You know, 1,000 or 2,000 a month, maybe, or something. Like, even if it was in the hundreds, you're getting a lot of submissions you have to go through. Why do you keep picking the stuff that's so boring that nobody's interested in? Why wouldn't you pick stuff that takes risk?
Well,
stuff that could be universally hated but it's interesting, or stuff that, you know, could be the diamond in the rough where it's written such a crazy way that it stands out.
Maybe I will answer that with another question. Do you think that those places are even getting those kind of stories?
That there has to be some.
Well, yeah, there probably are some, but I think, and this is just me as an outsider who doesn't really venture into the literature side of things. You know, the common, you know, misconception, I'm sure, is it's all these guys and gals just, you know, smelling their own farts, and that's kind of like the same old thing, you know.
Well, that brings up a good point, because, you know, if you're really serious about submissions, you are going to read some of the stories in the journal to see what they take. So what are you going to write? stories like what you read in the journal.
Yeah.
So you get this cycle where it's just the same shit recycled
Mhm.
over and over and over. So you get these literary journals where it's like, oh, I'm just assuming they would want to publish something that's a little more, like, I don't want to say experimental, but just different. If most of the stuff they get is the same kind of stuff, they just have to pick the best of that. So, and even if they do get one that's a little out there, they probably, I don't want to say ignore it, but with the bulk of submissions, it just probably slips through and they don't even notice, you know? Another thing which I've noticed is a common, like a commonality for all these journals, they seem to all pick, especially the higher end journals, people that have like MFAs and like all these list of publications, and you know, they're heads of committees and in societies like, you know, the Cormac McCarthy Society, whatever. Like they work for academic, you know, all these academic journals, just things like that. So they have these bios that fluffs them up, and then that's the stories they're picking. Again, the reader doesn't care unless it's like a known writer, like, you know, Joyce Carol Oates or something. They don't actually care who is writing the story as long as it's a good story. They're not looking. I never look at the bios and go, "Oh, that makes it better."
It's a big like Soko joke. It's just like, I'm gonna stroke you off, well you stroke me off, and then we're both gonna stroke this other guy off, and we'll all be happy.
I saw a comment which actually got me to look up the you know, try to find some articles on this. It was on Facebook of all things. It was a writing contest, and the fee for submitting was like $16, and a lot of people were like upset it was too high or something. And one of the guys, I'm not to paraphrase, I don't remember the exact word he used, but he said it was, I'm going to have to paraphrase because I don't think the word he used was a real word.
Okay.
I think he meant something else. Actually, I think he said pomp, and what I think he meant was pompous.
Yeah.
But, so I'll just use pompous. He said it was like a pompous pyramid scheme. And what I took away from that is, it is kind of like, not necessarily a pyramid scheme, but it's kind of like you have like a closed society. You know, I scratch your back, you scratch my back. You went to Yale, and I am a professor at Yale, and I have students who run this literary magazine, so you have a very good shot of getting in the magazine because I have connections.
It's kind of like we've talked about before, like with like a lot of indie creators will buy like, oh, you buy my book, I'll buy your book. It's so nice and good, but in the end, it doesn't really do anything.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's almost kind of like another level of that, like the next level up of that, or like the academia level of that kind of thing.
Almost like a form of nepotism. It's like, you know, who you know gets you into the magazine, not the work you're submitting. I don't know about you, but I think that's hot garbage.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it is, and see, that's the one thing when we ran DPW, the website, I always made sure I didn't read the bios before I read the work that was submitted. I read the work first because I don't want to be like, oh, this person is...
Unless if you made a hefty donation to the website.
That would be different. That's another one. I wonder if they do that, you know, because they have tip jars and stuff on a lot of these websites. But let's say someone submitted a work, and in their bio they have, you know, their Facebook has 100,000 followers, and they had this book and this book out, and they won this award. It's like, wow, that's very cool. But the story is dog shit. But if I see that information beforehand, even me,
you're like, oh, the viewers.
That'll get us more reads. That'll give us more visitors to the site. I should probably just, you know, because they're going to share it. Everybody's going to look, get to the site, which I get it. It makes good business sense.
Well, and that's if that's what even he's saying is true.
Yeah, that's true. But I don't think that's a good way of running a journal. I remember a letter I saw. It was a rejection letter for Gabriel Garcia Marquez. I believe that's his name. I always fuck up that guy's name because I haven't read his work. I'm one of those guys, if I don't read someone's work, the name doesn't stick properly in my head.
Well, he also has like 5 first names.
Yeah, he wrote 100 Years of Solitude, I believe, and won the Nobel Prize and all this shit. He's a great author. I just haven't read his work yet. Magical realism. But he got one time, he had a submission to Rolling Stone, I believe it was, and they had to reject him. And this is probably post Nobel Prize winning. Before, like after he won the award and all these, probably a bunch of other awards. He was super famous at the time, and they had to reject him because I guess the story wasn't that good. And it was like the best rejection letter I ever saw because they don't want to offend the guy.
Yeah,
he's fucking, you know, super famous. They're like, wow, that'd be like somebody. That'd be like a horror magazine rejection Stephen King because oh, well, the story's dog
Yeah.
shit, Stephen King, but they can't say that. So they like gave all this stuff. So it's just, and this, and it wasn't just quite right, but it was so amazing. Like they're just like sucking him off basically just so he would submit again. But it just also makes me laugh. It's like, he's submitting. Like I remember there was a story, a Haruki Murakami story in the New Yorker I saw, I don't know, it could be 5-10 years ago at this point, I don't know. Because I used to have a subscription to the New Yorker way back when. I got one of those deals online where it was like $1 for a year.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just remember seeing Haruki.
It hasn't said like an ex-crackhead sell it to you?
No, it was something online, Amazon, or I don't know. It was like I got 5 different magazines for like $1. Like, okay. That's when that magazines were really crashing and it was going out of business, and they were just trying to save it any way they could. But anyway, I saw a Haruki Murakami story in one. I don't even remember if I read the story, but the first thing I just thought of was this could be a horrible story, and they're publishing it anyway. Like,
just
it's
so they could have the name.
Yeah, it's Haruki Murakami. They're gonna publish it regardless. So that comes with fame. But when you see people who aren't famous, but they just have like this big list in their bio to make them stand out. Long story short, this is why I submit to a lot of journals that do blind readings. I prefer that. But I mean, at this point anymore, that's very rare. Usually they want you don't want your pronouns, they want your, sexual orientation, your race, they want everything. Like, why do you need all this information? The episode we're going to be having today, Spencer, is probably just going to be more of this.
Yeah.
Not literary journals necessarily, but I do have something that goes towards the literary journals, but we'll discuss that in a little bit here. First, we have to take a break. I have to come up with Spencer's stupid name. We have to play 3 games of chess. I watched this documentary on Bobby Fischer. Oh,
God.
I'm a chess guy. So anyway, folks, stick around. You are listening to what are they listening to, Spencer?
Drunken Pen Podcast?
Not even close.
Drunken...
Just stop. You are listening...
Writing Pen... Oral Listening...
Oral? You are listening to the Drunken Pen Writing Podcast, Spencer.
Okay.
I am your host, Caleb James. With me today, Spencer, the Kingston Cock Cooker Church. Chickens.
Okay.
Chicken. I couldn't say chicken because it sounds like, an H sound.
Yeah.
It'd be cock. Whoever decided the word cock meant penis or chicken?
Right?
Who makes these decisions?
Probably the same guy who was like, you want to know what an abbreviation for Richard is? Dick.
I kind of wish there was a name that the abbreviation was tallywhacker. Because that word, I try to keep it in play, but a lot of people just look at you when you say it. It's like a high-class word.
Well, I think a lot of them know, but probably, like, kids nowadays probably don't even know what a tallywhacker is.
That's the problem. There's 2 words that have gone out of vogue and I think need to come back. One's a more modern word. Tallywhacker feels like from its like the 1700s or something. It has to be old. There's history behind tallywhacker. Tallywhacker has been through a hard time in recent year, but it's been around a long time.
Now, do you think maybe that's just because like we live more up to the north? Because I feel like tallywhacker might get more play down south.
I feel like tallywhacker's in English, more English than anything.
Maybe.
Yeah, but tallywhacker is it's a good word. The second word, which is I don't know the origin of this word either, and I don't think it's been around as long, but it's one of the grosser words that we grew up with that I love that just really you don't hear anymore. Schlong.
Yeah.
What a great word. Schlong.
Yeah.
What could that possibly have meant ever that wasn't penis?
Right.
And why does it mean penis? That sounds like some kind of slug monster.
Right.
Schlong. That sounds like an alien from Star Trek. I don't know. Like that's like an alien race. The schlong are coming. Like I like it. I like schlong. I love schlong. So what do you prefer? Schlong or tallywhacker?
We're having both.
Whoa. You got real high pitch there.
Both. I love both of them.
While we're in this area, before we get to the seriousness of this episode, which isn't serious, should we come up with a word ourselves? Could we invent a word for penis? Dude, I don't think there needs to be more words for penis.
Yeah, I feel like you can almost use anything for penis nowadays. It's just
everything kind of works. Yeah, everything works. I wish I knew more penis words. Surprisingly, I don't think I know enough.
You know what I always liked? I always liked member.
Member?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a more sophisticated word. Shaft is Shaft's a good one. Though that's more. Member and Shaft are more specific to the trunk of the schlong.
Yeah,
It doesn't really factor in the mushroom tip, you know.
yeah.
And we've called a mushroom tip. They're only talking about the tip, which is weird. But anyway, I'm just saying we need to bring some of these words back because dick, overused. Cock is like old white people porn. I don't like when they say that in porn. It's like, oh, give me your cock. I'm like, ew. Ew. Don't say that. I always think like the word cock is said by someone named like Bethany or Methany or just one of them names and has like big hair. From the 80s. We've gone way off topic. The actual discussion is about, if you read the title, which I might make it proper, I don't know, I haven't decided yet, how money is destroying art, killing art, wrecking art. Money is doing bad things to art. Do you agree with that statement? When money is involved, art goes...
Yes, but it also sucks because it's hard to do without.
It does suck because... without money, most people can't create great art. And with an overabundance of money involved, people tend to do what's going to sell, and that usually isn't great art. I'm trying to steer this towards writing. We talked about this in the introduction about, well, not the introduction, the cold open. We talked about this in the cold open, how like a lot of these literary journals don't take risk with their submissions. They don't tend to accept things that are experimental. Outside of the journals that actually only publish experimental, that's almost going too extreme, you know. Then we only publish the wacky stuff. This goes with the just the publishing world as a whole. I don't see too many books come out nowadays that are like, wow, that's different. That's weird, but in a good way. You don't see a lot of that in comics probably either. Outside, this is obviously all outside of indie. I'm talking about mainstream, you know, presses and as far as comics goes, like Marvel and DC, you don't see too many risks taken. I will say, like the offshoots with like comics, like Image and stuff, you'll see more of that, more artistic stuff. But that's also because that's not a direct representation of the big two. But you're not going to see a Batman story or a Spider-Man story that really goes off the wall too often. Every once in a while, but usually it's like it's definitely not going to be in the continuity of the main story going on. It's not going to be in a main line or a main run.
Shoot it off by itself and have it be its own thing if you're lucky.
Yeah, so whenever you get like, you know, gay radioactive Spider-Man who's slinging weird webs from his cock, you are not putting that on a main run.
It's funny that you say that because in the new... they have like a new, it's just called Spider-Man, no adjective Spider-Man.
Is he going to be hanging upside down, but instead of kissing Mary Jane, he's kissing something else?
No, but
I don't want to read it then.
They go back into the Spider-Verse stuff. Ooh. And we get to see, they introduce like the first, like gay Spider-Man in that.
Thought that was going to be more entertaining.
No, but you just brought up the gay Spider-Man. I was like, oh, that's funny because they kind of just did that. Like,
I like the idea of the hanging upside down.
Yeah.
And what could you imagine a gay Spider-Man? What he could do? Ooh. He would have to be the bottom, right, with the flexibility and a lot of power. He generates so much gyration.
He doesn't. If he was the bottom, he'd definitely be a power bottom.
That's gross. Yucky. That's not gross, Spencer. Why you gotta be a bigot? Where were we? Oh, so you're not gonna see that story though be in like a main run. Like that's not gonna be just Spider-Man is doing a lot of crazy gyrations. He's gyration man, whatever. You're not generally gonna see that kind of change because one, it's a change. It could be undone, but then there's a lot of shit that goes along with that. They don't like to do that. They stick with what they know. Just like the movies, we stick with what we know and what's going to make us $1 billion. Here's the problem. It's not going to always make you $1 billion. At some point, people are going to get sick of the same old shit. And you have to do something different. When it comes to movies, they usually another genre takes off. And the one that was so popular, like Westerns in the old days, was tanked. Yeah, crime noir was popular for a while. Fuck, what else? Like gangster movies were popular for a while.
Remember when the comedies were all the
raunchy
rage?
Comedies, rom-coms were real... You had the adolescent American Pie humor ones, and then you had the rom-coms, which are a step above, but those are always like this saccharine, sweet comedy. Usually inoffensive, but then there was a line of like Judd Apatow stuff came out that was, it blended both. You had the rom-com, like Knocked Up. You had like, oh, it's a romantic comedy that is also bottom of the barrel humor, which I like those the most.
Yeah, right.
Nowadays, it's like the comic book movies, but obviously those aren't going to last forever, and I think they're already
Avatar.
Kinda,
All the avatars.
they're not making Avatar. Like Mean Girls, fetch isn't going to happen. Like you could try all you want to make it happen. It's not going to happen. Just give it up. Nobody wants Avatar.
Apparently, it's like already made like $1 billion already, so somebody wanted it.
Spencer, you know what they did? I guarantee it's what the music industry has been doing for a long time now, especially when streaming came out. What's to stop the studio from just buying a shitload of tickets and saying it's sold?
Yeah.
I forget what movie it was, but there was a movie that was universally panned, but it set records for ticket sales or something or other. It was a blockbuster hit. And I remember just seeing all this stuff online. I was like, I'm the only one in the theater.
Yeah.
But it said it's sold out.
Well, recently that was like Morbius, wasn't it?
Morbius was one of those, I think. Yeah. That might have been the one I'm thinking of. I don't remember. But it's like, oh, it's sold out. Oh, it's sold so many tickets. It's like, nobody's in the theater.
I'm the only one here.
And like the studio probably just said, how many tickets are available? We'll just buy them all. But the music industry has been doing that for a long time. That's how people get on the Billboard chart so much because they just fluff up the numbers. It's not real. Sorry, folks, if I broke your illusions there. It's not real. And I would imagine book sales are the same. If you have a book you want to become very popular, how do you do that? You make it a bestseller.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good chunk of money you'd have to spend. But when you're publishing the book already, you can just say a bookstore's bought this many or something. Or I'm sure there's a way to fudge the numbers.
Yeah.
But they make it seem popular until it actually becomes popular.
Well, I'm sure, especially with the way that there's a lot, like, the decline. Like, I know, like, Barnes & Noble has been on, like, an uptick, but still, like, we're far from the glory days of having, like, multiple brands of bookstores. So, like, I wouldn't even be surprised if they have, like, some kind of deal with, like, the bookstores, like, oh, hey.
Well, what they'll do is they'll say, oh, buy this many copies, and whatever doesn't sell, we just take back and burn it or whatever, recycle it. So that fucks the author and maybe the bookstore or the book publisher to a degree. But the bookstore, they're not really on the hook for that. So that still fluffs up the numbers if it just says, oh, this many books were sold because technically Barnes & Noble, I think, has to buy it first, right?
Yeah.
And then they just get their money back when it doesn't sell. Because I know this just from my company. If we don't sell, or like we could sell a shitload of beer to places, and then if it just doesn't sell and they send it back, the salespeople don't lose their numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Like they still made that sale. It still exists as a sale, even though it was refunded, which I think is really stupid. I think that's just a waste of everybody's time and money. But it's a good way to make something seem like a bestseller, even though it's not really selling that well. Again, using the music industry as an example, because I've been seeing this a lot with these really whack rappers that come out now. They call them industry plants. You know why? Because the industry essentially plants these people into the business. Like you think of the
old... is it kind of like the new version of like boy bands?
Yeah, like they just, we're going to make you real famous so we can make a bunch of money. Just sign this contract and you probably won't make a bunch of money. And we're going to pretty much just fuck you and you're not going to be able to be creative at all, but you don't care. You get enough money to shut up.
What was that that one Puff Daddy TV show he had, like making the band kind of like...
Yeah. And when you get these industry plants, what they do is they'll get their songs, even if they're not good songs, pay the radio stations, pay TV, whatever. I don't even have TV anymore, so I don't know. Does MTV still play anything? Probably not. I'm trying to think, like YouTube. Okay, just say it YouTube. Like we'll put it on the YouTube channel, whatever streaming services, whatever they got to do. They'll put this song so it's on every fucking thing. If they get in a commercial, even better. So that's where you get like that Jack Harlow guy I see everywhere. I can't name one fucking song, but why is he hanging out with Snoop Dogg? Why is he like at the Kentucky Derby wearing a suit? Like they put him in all these events to make it look like they're real popular and just hope they get popular. Some people do, like the Megan,
like fake it till you make it kind of thing.
Yeah, like the Megan Thee Stallion. She got real famous because they just pushed her on everyone super, super fucking hard. Not saying people don't like her music now or anything, but just she was like everywhere, and it's like I know not that many people were listening to her. But I've been seeing a lot of really terrible rappers and singers. They seem to be getting super popular, but then by the end of the year, you never hear of them again. Like they just suck ass. But they do that so many times until at least one sticks. All they need is one or two to stick, and then now you got a Cardi B who's out there all the time making all them kind of money for them. And I'm sure the book industry loves to have one of them trophy writers on their shelf where it's like, this person brings me this much money every year when they write a book. So if they could push out a new writer who could take off real well, that's perfect for like the next J.K. Rowling. They would love that. They tried like hell so often, and I just never see it go anywhere because people don't read.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna say I'm sure that there are people like if you paid more attention probably to like the new things that are coming out more often, I'm sure that there's a lot of like, oh, check out this person, then the next whatever, or like, you know what I mean? And it's just like that nobody ever buys, like the hype's not sold, you know.
Well, I mean, just look at Goodreads. They have like their Goodreads of the year books and all kinds of lists, and the top of the genre. Amazon does it too, the top sellers and all this stuff.
And you're like, who's this guy?
Yeah, they have so many, and it's like, who is this? I never heard of this person. And they push it super hard, and they go in your emails and newsletters and all this shit. And then it's usually like you look at the reviews for the book, and it's like, terrible, fucking not worth the hype, sucks ass. And I'm like, why? Why do we always celebrate this garbage? We're not going to talk about the celebration of mediocrity anymore, but I do want to go back to the initial point here. When you get money involved in art, just naturally, they're going to go with what's going to sell, what's popular, and most important for them, not us, what is easy to make. So you think of Marvel movies, it's very easy to have this formulaic movie versus one that you get an indie director to come in and make his Marvel movie, or even, you know, like a Joker movie. It's a lot easier, which that's why we need more movies like Joker to become popular, because even if you don't like that movie, you have to say, like, it's good that they made it because now it shows people want a different story.
Yeah.
You know, when you get a movie like that could make $1 billion, which is basically an art house film, if that movie didn't have the Joker as the protagonist, antagonist, it's kind of confusing, anti-hero maybe. If you didn't have the Joker, it was just a dude. It was just Joaquin Phoenix, same exact. Everything was the same, just no Bruce Wayne, no Joker, different names. It would fucking be still good. Like, people would be like, oh, it's a great movie. Might even win an Oscar. But just because it doesn't have the Joker attached to it, it wouldn't do the numbers. So that's kind of disappointing. But if the Marvel movies, I think, want to stay on top and keep selling, they're going to have to break the formula, I think. You're just seeing like a lot of backlash now with, like, you know, even like the Black Panther 2 and the last Thor movie. People are just like, we're sick of this shit. It's getting too funny. Or I guess in Black Panther's case, it wasn't funny, but it was just like, I don't know. Was it too? I didn't see it. Was it too serious? Or people just said it wasn't very good. I mean, I can understand you don't have Black Panther in it.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be the same.
It wasn't. I don't know. Like, I don't know why people didn't like. I think people kicked back at the ending of Black Panther the most. But yeah, and I mean, again, we talked about this before when it first came out. Like, yeah, you kind of gotta give that movie a little bit of a pass with everything that
that one really doesn't.
With.
I think, well, one thing I saw is like the botching of Namor. Like, not necessarily the change of, you know, not being Atlantean and stuff, but the fact that he's Namor, however he said it. Oh, yeah. But then also, like, the guy just wasn't in good shape. Like, I mean, you look at Namor, it's a very specific look. You could have probably got it. I don't know. I didn't see it, so I don't know if the actor was good or not, but a lot of people were just like, yeah, that guy doesn't look like he can swim.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
You know what they did have to do to that guy, though? They had to fucking digitally, like, shrink down that guy's package.
His wiener, yeah. Oh, that's a good thing to have. That's a good problem to have.
So I'm guessing, like, if that was your scenario, you're like, fuck the sit-ups.
Yeah. I bet he's real mad. He's like, God damn, it's the only thing I had going for me. So I think, you know, of the Marvel movies, and I saw the trailer for the new Ant-Man. It looks pretty good. Like, it looks like it's taking a different turn. But if they just did a little, they don't even have to break the formula for all the movies. Just once or twice a year, release a movie or show. Which I guess you could say they do with the shows. What was it? Can't think of her name now. Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
What was the name of that show? WandaVision.
Yeah, WandaVision.
Like, that was a different show, right? I didn't see it, but I heard that was like a very different show. So at least and even, you know, She-Hulk got shit on a lot. I heard, you know, that's very different than what they were doing. So at least, like, you're trying with those. I just think the movies need to be more like that, where it's like, hey, we are trying to do something different. At least for one movie a year, you know, they don't all have to be different.
And they were kind of like that because, like, for a while there, like, Captain America movie was its own kind of thing.
Yeah, one was like a spy thriller.
You know, the first one was a period piece. Then you had like Guardians that are like super high sci-fi, like, you know.
Yeah.
So that was something that they did do there for a while.
It just seems like it all kind of blended together at some point, you know.
it's so hard to, because people that like shit on Marvel, especially the reason, it's like, though they are doing something that has never been done in the history of any like a film or cinema, where they literally have been telling like a linear story for like 10 to like 15 years.
Yeah, that's
a very difficult thing to do. Like,
I think one of their problems is like the focus on ensemble films now. And I get it because, there's so many great characters and you want to explore them all and their stories. I mean, how many movies can have so many characters in them?
Yeah.
No, obviously the individual ones like your Ant-Mans and stuff, it's still a focus on the one character, which is fine because that's how the comics are. Everyone gets their own run. But then even like the Guardians of the Galaxies, which are I think the stronger franchise out of the Marvel franchise, you have like so many characters, but that works well. But that started off as an ensemble. But like, so you had what we all wanted was the Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got it and it's great.
Yeah.
But then after the Avengers, it's like, okay, well now we have to have the Hulk, Bruce Banner and the She-Hulk show just to like boost the numbers. What are we doing? Like we have to have, guests come on all, like the WandaVision I think had guests. Like we always have to have oh man, what's Tony Stark's ghost doing? He just showed up. Like who cares?
Well, it was hard. Like I do think they had a hard time trying to figure out what to do after Thanos.
Yeah.
After Endgame, because like I said, that's what they did like that first 10 years or so, with like leading up to that, and I think like these past couple of things have kind of been like a breather where I think they've been trying to just tell stories that weren't necessarily connecting, but then it's like the Star Wars effect. Oh, give us something that's different and not like anything else. Well, okay, well here's this. Well, it's not what I wanted. It's not the thing. Like.
What they need to do, obviously, is bring in the X-Men, Fantastic Four, and then your ensemble stuff gets expanded.
Oh, yeah.
So you're not just focusing on the same characters that are involved in the Avengers universe necessarily. It's beyond that, which obviously they're all in the same universe. But I mean, like, the stories. Like, now you can have Fantastic Four do their... Like how Guardians is. You can have these guys do their own shit. Like, even Guardians, like, they have to throw Thor in there. It's like, why do we have to throw Thor in there? I mean, it's funny. It works. But it's like, come on. We don't need Thor in the Guardians. We don't need... You know what? I'm not going to say what we need. I'm not ahead of the studio. I don't even give a fuck. I'm just gonna say my initial point. When you involve too much money in this stuff, you get stagnant with the creative process. And here's the thing, Spencer. Say you wanted to create your own original stories and you're just a middling novelist, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Not really selling much. Not enough to... You still have to work for a living. You can't make money off your writing.
Is it bad that that's what I like? That would be like...
Dream goal for you?
Yeah, just right now, just a middling novelist. Like, oh, that'd be nice.
Be a nice step. But let's say that's where you are in your career. So that's cool. You're making books. Select few are reading them. Maybe some really like them. Maybe get even a little cult following.
You go into like conventions and stuff like that. You sell some books.
Enough where you're like a James O. Barr who created The Crow, where you get a big publisher's interest. And they say, hey, we like this series that you're doing. We want you to move up to the big league, son. We want you to write this series for us, and we'll publish it and put the whole Random House marketing team behind it or something. Probably doesn't have a marketing team anymore, but let's just say they did. It's like, okay, and how much are you going to pay me? We're going to pay you $1 million. But holy shit, okay, sign me up. But here's the thing. We're actually going to need you to do some changes. So you got this one character. Probably better if he was a woman. I think that would empower females a little more. And, the story's a little violent. Maybe tone it down so we can get some 13 to 18-year-olds reading it, And then all of a sudden, are you creating the same art you were creating? No, you're creating a watered-down version because that's what's going to sell. And that's what the fucking uncreative people, the non-creatives who run all these corporations are telling you to do.
See, what I think I would like to do in this, made-up scenario.
Gay Spider-Man fan fiction.
Yes. No, but I think I would be I think I would try to do you read this thing that you really like. Okay, you want me to do all these changes. Well, how about instead of doing that, how about I just write you something new that fits within these?
But they don't want something new. They want...
Or something else, because, like, if you want... My argument would be like I made this I got this little following with this series of books. Now, the reason that I had that following is because the certain way that I write it. If I change that, there goes that initial following, plus whatever would probably get, boost that with a bigger signal. So how about I just write this news series for you guys that falls within your demographics and your...
They won't go for it, Spencer. You created Gonorrhea Gladiator.
Yeah, okay.
That's your superhero. Took off underground for some reason. Think of early Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
Goofy gimmick. For some reason took off. Probably because it's goofy. Studio picks it up. You know what? We'll throw a curveball. We're going to say DC's picking it up. They want a serious Gonorrhea Gladiator. He's not a serious character, obviously.
No.
But they want him to go serious, and they want to sell some fucking gritty stories that you write the first 6 issues. They're probably going to boot you and get somebody else in there. Because it's going to tank, because it's not what you initially created that the fans love. And then also because you don't have the rights to that character anymore. Once it tanks, they're just going to shelf it, and you'll never hear Gonorrhea Gladiator again. What a disgrace. No. And you will always have these hints, these little... drops from the from DC. It's like, hey, drops. I was gonna say drips, but that's even worse. Little drips. There we go. I'll say it. You have these little drips of information that leak through that into the interwebs. Like, oh, they're gonna bring him back. Gonorrhea Gladiator is coming back, but he never does he, Spencer?
No,
never does. It only gets the fans' hopes up, and it just doesn't happen. Here's the thing: DC gives you $1 million for your character. Now, you'd probably be like, okay, I'll just sell it. Fuck it. I'll take $1 million and then go do Alan Moore, just create my own crazy shit. But here's the thing. If you're already established and that happens to you, and it's like, well, I really love that character, but now I'm not in control. Like, could you imagine you're not in control of your own work? Like, that's got to suck.
Well, I think it depends on... I think it's a different thing other than, like, if you're interested in publishing comics, books, whatever, and then you get interest from another publisher who wants to publish that stuff other than getting... interest from like a movie studio or something like that, because I feel like that stuff is like, oh hey, we want to make a movie of Gonorrhea Gladiator, and be like, well, okay, yeah, you do that and just do whatever the fuck you want.
That's
with
what
that.
I say,
like
you know what? I don't care.
Yeah, but
give me the money and then you just butcher it and whatever. Who cares?
But it is different than if you get like I said, if you're self-publishing or doing like some indie publishing, and a bigger publisher wants to pick you up and and redo it, stop putting out your stuff, or, new stories, or reprint the old ones or whatever. That is a bit of a different thing, because then you are more actually on hands doing it and making whatever changes they would want you to make. But then if that was the case, I would think that I would just be like, well, then I'm just not going to do it. Or just sell, see if, like you said, just sell them the fucking rights and have them do it and take the money and just try to come up with something else. Because I do remember watching a panel years ago with Mike Watson on it, and he was talking about like he has one of his characters in his universe that he's made is a Hotshot, and he made like market to sell that character for whatever amount of money. He's like, well, I made a character one time, I can do it again, so
that's a good point. It obviously would depend on how attached you are to your property. If you think of like an Alan Moore, you created Watchmen. That's a lot of work that went into that. I'm sure he doesn't want to see those characters perverted by DC, which ended up happening. I mean, depends. As far as I understand, a lot of people like the other Watchmen stuff and the show and everything. But to Alan Moore, that's not his vision. So obviously to him, it was perverted and they ruined it. And he hates it.
But the thing is with that, though, that is like that was a work for hire gig. That wasn't like he came up with these characters on their own and they picked him up to it wasn't like he was doing Watchmen at like what's the England publisher, the AD whatever
2001 AD or something.
Whatever. It's not like, oh, he was like had the Watchmen over there and DC was like, oh, we like that. You want to come over here and like put it out on a bigger thing, like. No, and kind of like he did but like all those characters are already based off existing characters. So like he did somewhat, but like DC has also like multiple times like tried to make it right with money and
he's just a curmudgeon. He
doesn't want to.
Well, here's the thing. At least with Alan Moore, the initial product got to be creative. Yeah. So Watchmen, V for Vendetta, Killing Joke, whatever he created, even Swamp Thing, he got to do his own thing initially. So at least you got some art out of it. That's better than a lot of the situations you get nowadays where you see this in movies where you got a lot of these indie darlings. They make some fucking funky ass movies that are just great, but most people don't watch them.
Gay Cowboys.
No. That's French.
Oh.
Not that deep. Like Lighthouse. You know?
Okay.
But before the Lighthouse, like obviously that did get kind of popular, not to a degree where everyone saw it, but when you get guys who are creating work like that, then they make it big, and then all of a sudden now they're doing Marvel movies for millions and millions of dollars, but it's like, oh, you kind of sold yourself because now you're doing this stuff that's not what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't want to create, not to say you wouldn't want to do a Marvel movie, but even like you look at like Kevin Smith. You know, he wanted to do a Superman movie. He was hired to do a Superman movie. He wanted to do a fucking Superman movie.
Yeah.
But what the studio wanted to make him do was like a Nicolas Cage giant spider tarantula movie. It was stupid. I still wanted to see the fuck out of that.
Oh, I know.
But it's just like they always have a habit of ruining things. Think of Ryan Reynolds. He wanted Deadpool so bad. And then finally the studio caved in just a little bit. Like, look, we'll let you do Deadpool, but you got to do it our way in this shitty Wolverine movie that we're going to butcher, which should be super awesome, that everybody wants, Wolverine Origins. And then guess what happens? It's going to suck because we are going to get our grubby hands in there. And you know, like the Merc with the mouth is not going to have a mouth because we know that's what fans want. So they ruined that. Luckily, he stuck with it and was able to get it, you know, bring it back. Again, they still didn't want that movie to come out.
No.
It's like these fucking studios. They want to make money so bad, but they don't want to make money if it goes over their head. Like if it's like I would just shut the fuck up. If I was any of these guys, I'm like, I don't need any creative input. If you think this is going to work and it sells, fucking double thumbs up.
Yeah,
but no, they always want to be like, that's cool, but maybe if Superman fought a giant tarantula, that would be better. Sounds great, actually. But for the most part, these ideas are terrible. It's like you just get these fucking studio execs who just ruin such great movies. And it's always over stupid stuff, too. It's like either they want this random creative control of just one thing, or they want to, we like this idea and we know it'd work really well, but it's just a little more money than we want to spend.
Yeah.
And then they don't spend the money, and then guess what happens? They lose a shitload of money. They spend the money to make money. Like, it's just, I don't know who the fuck runs Hollywood. I think Kanye West has some ideas, but it's not any ideas that are cemented in fact, I don't think.
It's not the ideas that us here at the podcast share or support.
But anyway, going back to the initial point, and then we can end on this. I think art kills I think money kills creativity. I don't know too many people who are like, yeah, again, it's a double-edged sword because, you know, you got Clive Barker can't make Hellraiser the awesome movie if he doesn't get a studio to finance it and all this stuff. But luckily they saw his vision and they were like, we'll let you do it. But that was like, again, that was the 80s and 90s before this corporate America shit really got its hooks in. Because now everything is so watered down because it has to be, which I don't understand. Since when does these fucking cocaine abusing fucks in the corporate America have values all of a sudden?
I think one of the major issues, especially when it comes to like movies and stuff like that, is that like there's the places like the studios that make them. There's nowhere near as many. You know, most of them are owned by Disney now.
The monopolies just fucked everything up.
So you don't have as many to where you like, you know, you had like Dimension Films and like Lionsgate, where you'd get like these weirder kind of like
they want to stand out, so they're going to publish.
They'd probably be like straight to DVD or whatever.
Just like the publishing houses, because we only have 4 main that own everything now.
And then I heard something about
they were trying. I think Penguin was trying to buy a Random House, or no?
Well, no, I think Penguin.
Scrivener.
I think Penguin and Random House are together
because Penguin already bought Random House, or vice versa.
And then they were talking. I think they were talking about being.
Was it Scrivener?
Might be like getting bought up by somebody else. They might be buying somebody else.
They were trying to buy somebody, but I think it got. I think even Stephen King might have took a stand against it, or I forget. I'm very far. We talked about it before in more detail when we got it right, but not anymore.
No.
It was one of the trending topics, but it was one of those things where the courts got it right. We're like, we're not going to allow you to do this because of competition. For one, now there's less competition, but you know, if you only have 1 or 2 publishers running everything, they have no incentive to do any creative work anymore.
I mean, the perfect illustration of that is back in the late 90s, early 2000s with WWE and WCW. When you had both of them, it was fucking great and awesome and everything was crazy. But as soon as one crumbles and goes away and you only have the one thing now,
it sucks.
it gets, there's no they had to make a second show to have fake competition with itself.
Well, that's the thing. When you have that level of just you own everything, you could do whatever you want because it's either the fans are going to buy it or they're not. That's it. And if you do whatever you want, a lot of the times that's not going to be what the fans want.
It's easy to get complacent that way.
Yeah, it's just a shitty situation to be in. And unfortunately, it seems like everything's doing that now. The movie industry, the music industry, though at least the music industry, and to a degree the comic industry, has a lot of indie stuff that's like really getting popular.
Yeah.
The music industry especially, because now you get like, I'm just going to use like Chance the Rapper and Macklemore because those are the most recent examples I could think of, who like just did it themselves pretty much. Like they just sold their own music, which is easier now because of the Spotify.
What we were talking about a couple episodes ago.
Yeah, it's easier to do that now, though. You have to be really good, or you have to be really good at branding yourself, because just like the indie publishing industry or the indie comic book industry, you have so much competition at that level. Most of it's doo-doo, so you can at least, if you're good, you can stand out above that. But just to market yourself, that's a skill most people don't have. That's a skill we lack.
Yeah.
I can't. It's not even something to figure out. I just don't like it. That's the problem. I hate it so much. I don't want to do it. But yeah, that's about it. Just something that's been irritating me as of late. A lot of things have been irritating me as of late. But that's just like, I don't like that money has its fucking dirty mitts in every creative endeavor that seems to come out anymore. It would be fine, like you said, if we had more companies that they have to take risk if they want to stand out. You think of all the old, because like even like MTV and stuff, they were their own thing for a while, and then I think they got bought up by Viacom or something. But when they were their own thing, it's like, we're gonna take risk. We're gonna have a Yo MTV Raps. We're gonna have a metalhead show. I think it was like Headbangers Ball. We're gonna have actual music videos. That's not a thing. Like, they're innovative. In the 90s, we're gonna have Liquid Television. That's just weird anime shit. We're gonna have Beavis and Butt. We're gonna do whatever the fuck we want to do. And then at some point, it's like, no, now what you gotta do since we bought you out is you're gonna have 13 different shows that are all about 16-year-old girls having babies. You're gonna have who's the fattest, like TLC. That just turned into the who's the fattest fuck on the planet.
They really need to change the name of that station.
How many hot dogs can you swallow before they start popping out your asshole? Like, see, that's a double asshole, because they come out as whole hot dogs. I'm just clever. Folks, we thank you for listening this far. If you have, sorry, this episode really got off topic when we the boner stuff. Boner's another good dick word. Because boner is also a mistake. And when I purposely in my life use words like that the wrong way that are actually the right way.
Yeah.
So, if I trip or something, like, fuck, I made a boner. Yeah. And people are like, what?
Or you could just be like, what a boner, and just be people like, what? Wait, where?
Yeah, so
checking themselves.
Make
like,
a mistake. I call it a boner. Growing Pains had a character named Boner.
Yeah.
Which is great. It's the best name ever on television.
Especially on a show called Growing Pains.
Yes, it's just fucking awesome. And it's so funny because Mike Seaver, Kirk Cameron's all religious and shit, and he like ruined the show because he's a fucking asshole. So yeah, we got Boner. I was going somewhere with this, and I forgot. I don't remember. Anyway, it's not important.
You're working on the outro, bud.
No, I want more boner stuff, but I always want more boners. You can follow us at DPW Podcast on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. You can like us and rate us and give us all the stars on iTunes?
Yeah.
I don't know. I know there's other stuff. I think it might just be Apple Music now. I don't know. iTunes, Apple Music, Spotify, CastBox, whatever the fuck. We're on almost everything. There's a couple of things that had to renew because we got bumped off somehow, like Google Play. We weren't, or Google Music, Google something. We weren't on there anymore, and I just had to do like a code, and I think we're on there again. I don't know. Spencer's OnlyFans. What are you this week? You are cooking cocks in Kingston, I believe.
Yes.
That's Jamaica, by the way. Makes sense now that you think about it. Oh, Jamaica. Yeah, they have a lot of chickens in there. Jerk chicken, actually. Good. I like me a good jerk chicken.
You like your chicken jerked?
Like it real jerked. Oh, you could check out my stuff at calebjamesk.com. As I mentioned before, I was published in Coalition Works. That was last week. February, I should be published in another one. And I'm waiting to hear back on some things, but I am disgruntled with some of these rejections I'm getting because when I see what's published, I'm like, drivel, fucking trash. And then I just start playing with my tallywhacker. Get the rage out. That just sounds better. Like, I'm going to go play a game of Tallywhacker.
It sounds like something you do in the shed.
Knob is a good one. I like
knob.
The British have the best words for penis, I think. I bet you they invented schlong. I wouldn't be surprised. We should do a whole episode on the different ways you can say dick in different countries.
I like it.
Because there's a lot of euphemisms for dick, too. So anyway, we thank you for listening, and we will check you out mañana. Not tomorrow, but let's just say tomorrow.